Welcome to our new video on support movement and locomotion. In this unit, we'll be covering about 30 questions and we'll be covering the fundamental concepts. So now, in a previous video in which uh, took in great depth discussed the lecture, I told you about the rotation of the two types of joints, the elbow and the socket joints, and the corresponding bones which are involved. So let's start with question one. They ask about the elbow joint. Now, the elbow joint consists of the radius and ulna and basically the biceps and triceps muscle. We discussed that they are antagonistic to each other in function. So whenever the biceps contracts, the triceps relaxes. And what is the function of the biceps? The biceps flexes the muscles, whereas when the triceps contract, it relaxes the muscle. So which of the following is always true? If the biceps contracts, the triceps must relax. Yeah, this is always true because the two muscles are antagonistic to each other. Now, in question number two, they ask us how the effect of biceps and triceps muscle on the action. So when the biceps muscle contracts, the arm becomes flex, the arm is flexed up and it bends. So the option here is A. And when the triceps contract, the action is that arm straightens up. Which bones form which joint at the shoulder? The scapula and the humerus. They form the shoulder joint, which enables movement in 360 degrees and in three planes. You have to remember all these key information. It will be repeatedly asked in the future questions. So A sounds. In question number four, they ask the two question. Now you all have to understand that the bicep muscle is originates from the glenoid tubercle on the scapula and is inserted onto the radius bone. And similarly, that however the difference between biceps and triceps is that the biceps is inserted on the upper side of the humerus, whereas triceps is inserted on the lower side of the humerus. So, which of the muscles, why are the muscles described as antagonistic? But in this question, they are asking why do they have opposite roles? So they have opposite effects on the same joint. They have opposite effects on yeah. So they have opposite effects and they have opposite effects on the same joint. The one they they both affect the same bone. This answer is correct. They both affect the same bone. Why isn't C the correct option? C isn't the correct option because although when the biceps contract, the triceps relax, but these muscles are synergistic. What do I mean? I mean that, for example, when you try to flex your arm, the biceps contracts and the relaxation of the triceps always produces the same movement. They don't both contract at the same time, and this enables a particular movement in a specific direction. Now, this is the triceps muscle. Whenever it's contract, the arm is extended. So the arm is extended. Okay, the upper arm. The whenever you contract the triceps muscle, the lower arm is always extended. And now, in question number six, you need to see that they've asked which structure in the forelimb can be identified as the humerus. Now you need to note what is the characteristic property of humerus. The humerus is the longest bone in the if the forearm, and the radius and the ulna are shorter than it. So as you can see, which is the longest of these all. If I think the option C, you can see over here that the C is the longest bone. Now in question number seven, this is the biceps muscle it will contract, the arm will always bend. In question number eight, they have so shown a cross-sectional view and they have told us to identify the bones. Now we know that the humerus is the longest bone, so they have shown it by the largest size. So obviously bone Y will be humerus, and there's only one corresponding option which is paired up with it, that's radius. Now in question number nine, you need to know that in order for the ball and socket joints to work, that this in this bone, this is where this the humerus has been shown, and you can see the ball type shape. So obviously the ball has to fit in a corresponding structure which will be resembling like it. And similarly, the radius and ulna is known as the elbow joint so the ball and socket joint. Now they have asked between which parts will ball and socket joint will be formed. So just by looking, we see that this is the structure of a ball. So three will be the first answer. And obviously you can see that why this ball type of structure cannot fit in the in this shape. Rather, it will easily fit in this type of shape. So the answer will be one and three. In question nine, the shoulder joint. Now the shoulder joint is between the scapula and the humerus, and it is around 360 degrees rotation. It is the type of rotation which is used when, if you've seen cricket, fast bowlers use to bowl a delivery. They completely rotate the arm. Now, to which bones is the muscle attached? It always originates from the scapula and it is inserted onto the radius. Now, you can also remember that the ulna is always the most medial bone in the human body. What does medial mean? Medial means that the bone which is most near to the midline of your chest. So the radius is the lateral bone, and it is the muscle is attached from the scapula to the radius. And the origin always isn't moved. However, the insertion point can be moved. Now, in question number 12, similarly, they've just asked the repeated questions like above as well. You can see that in this part, in number one, the arm is being further extended. So obviously the triceps muscle will be contracted. In this case, the arm is being flexed to a stable position, and in number three, the arm is being most flexed. So number one, there will be relaxation of the biceps since the triceps will contract, and correspondingly two and three, since there's flexion going on, the bi the biceps will contract and the triceps will relax. How many planes of movement are possible at the elbow and shoulder joint? The elbow joint involves radius and alpha and only allows movement in one joint, whereas the shoulder joint allows movement in all three joints. Now, in over here as well, you can see that a person has fully extended in arm is number one, just like the two questions above. And in this, but in number two, he flexes his arm, and in number three, again straightens it. So, C is the answer. In position in number one, he straightens his arm. In number two, he flexes his arm, and in number three, he again throws it again. Which structure contains muscle fibers that contract? And now the ciliary fibers, these look just like muscle fibers, and thus they will contract and decrease the size of the lens, allowing us to view distant things more clearly. Now, the correct sequence of the bones is of the shoulder joint is always the scapular, so it is the farthermost. In the hand, nearest to the hand is the radius bone and radius and ulnar bones, and distant to it is the humerus. So C is the answer. In question number 17, they asked to show the muscles that straighten the joint. We all know that the scapula is the origin of the bones and radius is the insertion. So P will be the answer. In question number 18, they have shown a person who is doing pull-ups. Now, obviously, while doing pull-ups, what will he do? He will flex his arm. In X, he is straightening his arm. In Y, he will be flexing his arm. So the option will be that the biceps will be always contracting when he flexes his arm, and correspondingly, the triceps will relax. Now, the ball and socket joint always rotates. The extension is the function of the hinge joint. The ball and socket joint always rotate. I have 360-degree function. A is the answer. In question 19, it's a part of CNS, but we'll cover it since it has been displayed over here. Now, the nerve impulse is traveling through the dendron, and over here there is the relay impulse which connects the dendron to the axon. Thus, the sensory stimulus will be stimulated. However, since they've asked that if there's a break at Q, the nerve impulse can't be transmitted to R, and thus the extensor or the motor response will not be generated. Now, the elbow joint always involves the humerus and the ulna, and it allows movement in one plane only. See, in question 21, again you were saying that what is this? This is full extension, and this is flexion of the elbow. So at which joint is the movement occurring? It is occurring at the elbow joint. The elbow joint involves the hinge joint. Okay. In question number 22, they ask again about the regions and insertions. It's becoming pretty much the same as you go forward. So the hinge joint is now obviously number 5. The elbow joint, the humerus is the longest bone, 2, and the biceps muscle is 3. Now in question number 14, Again, this is the ball and socket joint, and as you see that this resembles a ball, so this is the humerus, and it will be inserted into the shoulder joint. In question number 24, while doing pull-ups, you can see that action of the biceps muscle and the action of the triceps muscle. In question number 24, the arm isn't being straightened. The arm is flexed to a slight degree. So the biceps muscle will be contracted, whereas the triceps will relax. In question 25, they say that the ball and socket joints rotates and the hinge joint extends. Now, this is the same position. B is the same position as depicted above, so this can be ruled out. In question number, in part A, they have clearly told us that the hinge joint would be extended. However, this shows flexion, and this also shows flexion. Now, if you talk about D, this is the only option in which you can see that the person is trying to more straighten his arm and is extending his arm. So D is the answer. In question 26, the answer is obviously the scapula and the humerus. This shows a weightlifter who is putting on some weights, and in from 1 to 2, what is he doing? He's straightening out his arms. So the triceps muscle will contract and the biceps will relax, and the movement will always be, then the movement would be in one place. So this wraps up our video on support movement and locomotion. I hope you liked the video. I'll be making more of these soon.